Good morning again. I'm Nazeeba Zareen, Executive Director of PDA Ventures Private Limited. On behalf of PDA Ventures, I would like to welcome you all to the 11th edition of IBEXIndia, India's only comprehensive B2B trade fair and conference for BFSI technologies, services, and equipment. 3 days of networking, knowledge gathering, and engaging with top guns from the industry starts today. IBEXIndia 2024 features the participation of over 120 exhibitors, displaying a wide array of products and services across physical and IT security, banking automation, cybersecurity, ATM technology, intelligent data infrastructure and security, AI, and much more. Organized alongside the large format exhibition, IBEXIndia Conferences provides a platform for all stakeholders in the BFSI sector to come together, explore, understand, and deliberate on the challenges and opportunities in adapting innovative and future-focused BFSI technologies. We are also pleased to inform you all about the debut of IBEXIndia BFSI Technology Award this year, recognizing and honoring remarkable achievements in technology within the BFSI industry. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you, and I hope you make the most out of the next 3 days of enriching deliberations. I would now like to hand over the mic to our associate, Mr. Devi Shankar, who will be your MC for IBEXIndia 2024. Thank you.
Jai Hind, Namaskar, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Chief Guest of the day, Ms. Vidya Krishnan, whom we'll usher in very soon. Ms. Vidya Krishnan, Deputy Managing Director, IT of State Bank of India. Our distinguished guest of honor, Mr. Vinit Goenka, Secretary, Center for Knowledge, Sovereignty, a leading think tank in policy space, and former member IT Task Force, MoRTH, Government of India. Welcome, sir. Dr. Sourav Dutta, Chairman, Advisory Committee, IBEXIndia 2024, and former Executive Director, IT, IDBI Bank. Other distinguished members of our Advisory Committee, sponsors, exhibitors, supporting associations, speakers, moderators, knowledge partners, our erudite audience, as ever, drawn from leading banks, insurance companies, and financial institutions, colleagues, our friends from the technology and media fraternities, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your humble host, Dev, from IBEXIndia 2024, and today I stand here in front of you in this age of deep tech. Deep tech and digital disruption that goes hand in hand, and I'm feeling privileged in welcoming you to the 11th annual edition of the landmark IBEX Conference, Expo, and the inaugural edition of the wonderful Marquee Technology Awards. The theme, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, which is populated here on the screen for you, for the 2024 edition is Navigating to New Horizons, BFSI Technology, Trends, and Transformation. Doesn't merely talk about best practices, but it talks about the next practices. Just at it, friends, I'm reminded of a quote by Steve Jobs, and I quote, that it's not the faith in technology, but it's the faith in people. Today, we have assembled here to celebrate exactly the innovations, technologies, and outcomes that is a result of the immeasurable hard work, diligence, and industriousness of the Indian banking, insurance, and financial service sectors. IBEXIndia is the definitive platform for banks, insurance companies, and financial institutions to source information, gain knowledge and experience in cutting-edge technologies and products, and to deliver seamless and secure user experiences in this era of digital transformation. The edition of IBEX BFSI Awards this year is our reflection of our commitment to recognize and celebrate technology, innovation, and excellence of people in the Indian BFSI landscape. Let me assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have secured the presence of very senior industry professionals, policymakers, and a stellar lineup of prolific speakers to debate throughout the next 3 days on the business, technology, and innovation aspects in the ever-evolving and evolving Indian banking and financial service sectors. With your permission, I will now initiate the inaugural session of our 3-day conference with great pleasure, with the lighting of the lamp, of the auspicious lamp already over, which will now lead us from darkness into light and spread the words of wisdom, knowledge, and cooperation. I will now start the inaugural plenary session. A hearty welcome to Madam Vidya Krishnan, as I can see Madam here. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I call upon Dr. Sourav Dutta to usher on the dais Madam Vidya Krishnan, our distinguished chief guest, and Mr. Vinit Goenka, our esteemed guest of honor. Welcome on stage, please. A hearty welcome once again, distinguished dignitaries. I now request Dr. Sourav Dutta to welcome the dignitaries and also deliver his welcome address to the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Namaste. Good morning. A very hearty welcome to all the distinguished dignitaries and participants of the 11th edition of IBEXIndia Trade Fair and Conference of the BFSI and Fintech Center. I'm happy to be amongst the august gathering of bankers, insurance companies, technocrats, regulators, industry professionals, as well as the media. The IBEXIndia Trade Fair Conference over the years has turned into a well-regarded platform, enabling discussion on technology as well as business. Insights from the conference have not only helped to solve the various issues that we face, but have also enabled the finance professionals to discuss the future, which is quite exciting. And I'm delighted that this multi-session IBEXIndia conference is devoted to provide insightful answers and fuel discussions on the various BFSI technology trends and its transformation. Also, there are many panel discussions around the technology areas in business transformations, AI adoption, zero trust infrastructure, BFSI array of products, which will be there for you to see. So I will just like to take attention to some of the issues and events that that prevail in the current BFSI sector, especially in the banking domain. So my agenda would be basically touch upon the four, don't have much time, so I have just touching upon the basic areas. So basically we'll talk about something on the enterprise architecture, the basic IT landscape of the Indian banks, the new technology implications that we are seeing, which is happening, and what are we expected in the future, what are we expecting in the future. So with these four, I will just start with the enterprise architecture section. So what we see is that basically the enterprise architecture is basically for the banks, unfortunately, is not pretty standard, right? So we need to have an enterprise architecture which should be across the banks. All the banks that you're seeing now are kind of in a spaghetti kind of mix, right? If you look at other countries, evolved countries and evolved technologies, for example, banking, if you look at some of the premier banks internationally, they have their own enterprise architecture, which is very important for the banks to take forward what technologies to be used, when to use, how to use, what are the various players, right? So those are the things that are part of the enterprise architecture. And if you look at, just give an example, for Switzerland, a small country which has got an enterprise architecture for all the domains, government, education, healthcare, banking. So they have an enterprise architecture, how the technology will look, what are the players, how the players are evolving, what should be the basic framework, the basic underlying framework. If you look at banks in India, the basic underlying framework, of course, core banking. But again, core banking is different for all the banks, right? Even if you say, for example, one of the companies, say, for example, Infosys, right? They have a product called Finacle. Each implementation of Finacle is different for each of the banks, right? So that is how the whole diverse thing comes in. So what we require is basically we require an evolved banking structure and very strong guidelines from the regulator as how the enterprise architecture should look like. There should be standardization, right? So that is missing. Again, core banking will remain, what I foresee will be a monolithic, at least in the Indian context, because the amount of customers that Indian bank serves is way beyond any other foreign national bank, right? So that is one of the big areas. Of course, don't compare with China and some of the other companies, banks in, for example, in Africa. But some of the main idea would be that the core banking, at least in Indian perspective, will be a monolithic structure. So the enterprise architecture around that is going to be limited in that respect. And then fourth is that what I foresee is that we should have something known as the keep it simple strategy for the, don't want to make it complex. If you look at any of the banks, they've got n number of screens, n number of, so there has to be standardization. And any product that you take, common off-the-shelf product, that has to use, you have to use the minimum 80% out of the box and do only 20% of customization. That should be the thumb rule. Unless you follow this, it's going to be a spaghetti architecture. So how are you going to look at the digital, the new enterprise architecture in banking is that the following. We have the frameworks which are quite standard, right? And these are also evolving, you see. So these are the frameworks that you see, the open agile architecture, TOGAF, it's been there for ages now. Then you have SAFe for the agile network. Then you have BIAN, and then you have DevOps framework. So on this, you build basically what is known as the principles of the banking. So you have the minimum, for the minimum viable architecture, it has to be plug and play, which is of course given. Then it should be modular, and it should have agile methodologies to follow, right? So agile now is evolved into plain waterfall plus the agile, right? It's not only agile now. So you have plus and minuses both sides, but again, then it has to be cloud native. Again, cloud is something that I would come later on. And then of course, AI driven is something that we are looking forward to. Then these are the drivers, basically. So you have the business, of course, and then it has to be customer-oriented. Customer focus has to be there. Digital transformation is important because at each stage, technology changes, and you have to transform the way of working in the bank itself. And then it has to be data-driven. So those are the basic concepts of the new age architecture, which is what we see. So let's have a brief look at the Indian IT landscape in the banks. So what you see is that we have the vision of the enterprise architecture is not very clear. It's not well defined. So that's what I want to reiterate once again. So all ad hoc model, how the banks have been growing. So let's put one. So you have in banks also, you have multiple solutions. Look at any of the banks, there will be something between 400 to 700 applications, right? So all ad hoc model. So mostly vendor driven. And spaghetti architecture is something which has been plaguing the industry. Less or very no documentation in most of the cases. It's all person dependent. Then again, we have no standard guidelines from the regulator as how the whole infrastructure or the whole technology stack should look like. So quickly coming to the future of banking. So I have been telling this in most of my other events also, that banks will be technology company with a banking license, right? So that is how it is, and you're seeing that's happening, right? Then, of course, you have increased amount of integration with the various ecosystems, and API is, of course, is given. It's a default thing now. Increased amount of threat vectors. You're seeing that the amount of attacks which are happening on financial institutions, if you're not even aware of, right? So because of what's happening is that you have the people who are attacking, they are not very technologically competent also. They are just cutting and pasting codes which are available in GitHub, for example, or using Gen AI to develop codes very easily. So that's one of the major threats that we see. And so these are the techniques that we have to be aware of, and the banks and the financial institutions in totality have to look into this. And then something which has been my pet project, to have a sovereign India banking cloud, right? So we have our own banking cloud for the Indian. So that is something that is and something more with Vinit ji we might be also talking about the sovereignty, data sovereignty, something. So it has been very close to my heart to have a banking cloud which is completely Indianized. We have our own setup, we have our own data centers, and people can leverage that. So some of the technologies to look out for is that you have the quantum computing, which is coming up. The first picture that you're seeing is that IBM quantum computing. It's having 1,000 qubits of processing power, which is already there. What it means to the banking sector is that it will be basically targeting and prediction will be much accurate. Then, of course, this is some of the top of the line. This trading optimization is there. Then risk profiling. And then, of course, security is part of the quantum computing. The cybersecurity aspect is there. Then secondly, what I see is that from a green data center point of view, so we'll have green data centers coming in the future, which is very important for self-sustainability and as well as for connectivity. Because if you have a data center, what is one thing which will make the data center fail? What's the one thing? It's not the power. It's basically the network, right? So if you don't have connectivity to the data center, everything would fail, right? So that is something that we will see, that how we can make that thing also possible. So you have satellite communications coming up, for example, Starlink and other companies which are already doing it. Then we have, which is known as self-sustained DC, because it will not be depending on any other external power. Near zero carbon footprint, which is something that we also aspire to. Some of the other things that we are going to see in the future is that it will be a fully homomorphic encryption, is something new technology. So what you had is that you had hardware to encrypt data, right? It's a one-way function. Hash function is one-way function, trapdoor function. So what is happening is that using that encrypted data, for example, your name will be a hash function. With that hash function, I'll be able to predict, or I'll be able to profile you, I will be able to do it. I'll not use your name. So that will prevent in those leakages, data leakages and all those things. So this is a hardware solution which is coming up. You'll see it's already there in the market. You're going to just see it coming up in the next couple of years. Then what you see is that you'll have risk processors. All the processors that you're seeing, forget about Intel. Intel has been there for ages. But what we'll see is that risk processors are the future. All your mobile phones are basically RISC. RISC stands for Reduced Instruction Set Computers, right? So you'll see this also coming up. And then, of course, Gen AI. We have some of the terms that I don't have much time to discuss, is that threat casting. You have something known as soft biometrics, right? So you don't have the actual person, but at the same time, using cameras, you can profile the person. For example, gender, hair color, eye color, face, but without a name, okay? So those are known as soft biometrics. Of course, you have deep fakes, and then you will be something known as the zero trust architecture. So some of the things that, if you want, I can discuss it offline. Of course, private data centers would continue to evolve. Some of the things I've already mentioned. So some of the core banking systems of the future would look like something like this. So I won't take much of your time. I wish you all a great experience at IBEXIndia, and I wish you all to take this opportunity to meet 120 plus vendors who are already here, partners, peers who would help us in the various technologies and solutions which can be helpful to you. Hope you have a good time here. With that, I end my lecture. Thank you.
Thanks indeed, Dr. Dutta. So that was Dr. Dutta, chairman of our advisory committee for this 2024 edition. Thank you for kickstarting the proceedings in such a wonderful manner, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have two special addresses, two distinguished dignitaries on stage. And the first special address I have great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Vinit Goenka to deliver his impactful address on data sovereignty in the digital age. But before that, I'm really pleased to read out a few lines about Sir's illustrious. Please permit me, sir. Mr. Goenka is currently the Secretary, Center for Knowledge Sovereignty, a leading think tank on policy issues. He has been a member of the Programming Committee of the Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Smriti, Ministry of Culture, former spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, former member Governing Council for CRIS, and former member IT Task Force, Ministries of Shipping, Road Transport and Highways, among a lot of other credentials to his credit. He has authored books on data sovereignty, which is Data Sovereignty, The Pursuit of Supremacy, and a bestseller book called The Enemies Within in English and Hindi. He's worked with several corporates in leading positions and took a plunge in politics and social sectors later on. And as I said, in these capacities, he has worked closely with several union ministries on the host of nationwide, IT initiatives launched to achieve the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's mission of minimum government and maximum governance. Sir, over to you.
Ram Ram to all of you. After listening to Dr. Dutta, I'm little taken aback. I'm not a good speaker and understand the segment very less. I'll try my bit to speak. Only thing is, if I don't understand, then I'll not be able to make them understand what you want to tell them. Want me to lift it? Yeah. So in this 15 minutes, I'll take 2 or 3 minutes on the basic tenet of why we are here and why did I jump from corporate to the policy space. And one thing, the meaning of democracy is meaningless if there is no participation from the majority community. In the yesteryears, we saw that fruits of democracy were not there to people who were geographically away, people who were not in the spectrum of the classes. This is not a political platform. This is a place where we have CEOs, CFOs, and the decision makers of various organizations. But there is one statement which hurts us all and which was true. It was made around 40-45 years back by the then Prime Minister that you send 1 rupee and only 15 paisa reaches there. Now, I don't want to dwell upon what happened, but it is true that transparency is impacted with the tool of technology. And can technology bring in changes and can we introduce transparency? It has been proved. And you being very sharp people, I don't want to go into the details of that, but that is one tool. Number 2, is it also true that a stale money, a rupee, is just 1 rupee, but then the rupee goes into circulation. When it comes to you, ma'am, you invest that into some other activity, then it comes back to me, and the circular rupee is more rupee than a stale money. So the money has to be there in the system. It should not be in the... Okay, sir. And then we also have seen some movies of Satyajit Ray, where the hero reaches to his house with the hard-earned money of his entire year, and then he sees that the mother is no more to have that particular. So the money has to be utilized there and there itself for the good. So what were the hindrances? And I had an opportunity to read the H.K. Khan committee report that almost around 2/3 of Indians were not there on the banking system. And this was in 2006. So naturally, when they were not in the banking system, the systems which were running parallel were not free of the diseases of cash. Cash always has a disease. So they were all full of cash diseases. The lenders would extract money. When it was transferred, there were leakages, and there were also chances of law enforcement agencies' problem. Stealing, burglaring, black money, everything was there. So naturally, one major shift in the policy, and we all know that Jan Dhan helped us to migrate this large population. Almost around, currently the 2/3 population in the banking system has because of the Jan Dhan, where the migration happened. And best part about this is half of them, or maybe more of them, are the women folks who were not there in this. I'll give you one small example, and I'm sure you all will feel ashamed to know this particular part. The money which was traveling from government to the citizens, especially to the women, to those far-flung areas and to the marginalized communities, would never reach to them. Never reach to them not because there was leakages in the government system, but many times by the members of the family itself. So the father, the brother, or the son who would go and collect the incentives would not give that money to his mother sister, and they would be deprived, and there were many silences. Because of them, many of our sisters had to compromise, and they went through challenges which no human being should go through. Aadhaar-based Janadan enabled these masses, and we have all these people. And then the element of mobile which came in, which enabled the jam. Now the money is transferred to any corner of this country. And I'm proud if you go to Zairo, which is on the far east of Arunachal, or you go down there in the Indira Point, which is there in the southern part of India, or you go to any corner, you go to Bhuj, Kala Dungar of Bhuj, there is a connectivity, you can transfer it. And you can transfer the money in any scale. When I say any scale, you transfer 2 rupees when you buy a chocolate through a tech-enabled app, or you can transfer more money. So it depends on what class you come for and for what reason you have to transfer, it can be done. I remember having one person in the team called as Banks. And what was his job? He used to go every day and deposit the checks and then update those passbooks, and which we do now 24/7. So scale has happened. And the second element is speed, and the speed comes with this, and then you can transfer it and immediately it happens. So now my son goes to some restaurant, he eats what he wants to eat. He calls up his mother, my wife, and she transfers the money over the app, and that speed also has come. Now this is all known to you, and why I'm speaking to you is, this was not possible without the fintech in place, the component of technology which was there. When the technology comes in, we are all happy because it also gives you speed, scale, security of that. But technology also brings its own challenges. One of the challenge of technology is, of course, what you see, and which I call it to be a small part, is the phishing and the stealing part. Now that is a law and order problem which can be tackled by the police. They're competent, they do it, they investigate. There will be leakages, there will be people who do it. I'm not talking about that particular, but what I'm talking about is the larger one, which is the risks which happens because of the data. The data which is collected, it's a weapon which can be used by anybody against the society, against the nation. It can be used in a very collaborative, corporate way, which can go against the masses and the thinking of this country. There are organizations which handles the data. I met somebody from the security just before coming on the stage. What will happen to this data if it is there in the hands of those people who can harness this? One, they can change your way of spending. They can make you to spend where you don't want to really spend. Not that it will be a theft, not that it will be a legal challenge. It will be almost legal, but not moral, because they will blend your thoughts of spending and they can decide what to spend on, and they can also harness your likes and dislikes and your OCDs. Your obsessive compulsive disorders can be harnessed against you, and you will be left with no penny just because the tech company has your data. I would yet tolerate that particular part, but what about when there is a systematic approach towards your data, and to understand what is the need of the country, and to penetrate into the thinking and the planning of the organization? Somebody else would know before our planning team, our Niti Ayogs and our people know what is the next need of the spending. And they can always manipulate the market forces against your wish and will. Can this be done? The answer is yes. Can a data be weaponized? The answer is yes. I'm fortunate I was part of the book, Data Sovereignty. I co-authored it. It's the first book which was written by RAW, Military Operations, Director General Defense Intelligence, and also a director from NPCI and myself. And the book also had former chairman of ISRO, Shri Kiran Kumar. And what we have analyzed is, and that is what I'm going to share in the next 2-3 minutes. To understand the challenge of fintech data, we'll have to go through the 20,000 years of human history. And what is the 20,000 years of history? If I want to put this in an executive summary of 3 or 4 lines. Humans show conflicts. Conflicts became battles and wars. And traditionally they were fought with military operations. What were there? Humans fought with sticks with each other, stone, then sword came in, then cannon came in, then laser-guided devices, and what now you see is very precise bombing, use of drones, everything which is going on. So this is the military colonization part. But in the last 250 years, humans became little decent and civilized, and they said, this is not only the way you can colonize other minds and other economies and other countries. And energy became a tool, weapon of colonization. And we saw that energy was colonized. A country which was not producing oil, a country which was not selling the oil, would sit and dictate the terms and the price of the oil. I wanted to buy oil, he wanted to sell oil, but third country dictated आप कैसे खरीदेंगे, किससे खरीदेंगे. And if you don't buy as per their terms, they put sanctions on this. I had an opportunity to address Brigadiers to be in the National Defence College 3-4 days back. And I want to quote the same particular part to you, which is so first colonization is military colonization, second is colonization, the third colonization which I'm talking to you is, as a child, how many of you have seen cartoon films and films? I'm sure each of you would have seen it. And even I had seen movies. And ma'am, I was very happy and also unhappy. I was unhappy that my military, Indian military, was not that capable as to that cartoon films or that movies country which was showing. And those people were so competent to even protect Mother Earth from aliens and extraterrestrial animals. So if there is an attack by some other intraplanetary things, they would protect us. Their army was so powerful, their ships, their air force were so magnificent and big that I should really feel good, and they would take care of the bad guy. They would go and deliver justice to the bad guy with man's endurance and also the machine. So that was really impressive. We all grew up, right? And I also remember that one movie where the president punches in the face of the terrorist and says, "Get off of my plane." You remember, how many of you seen that? Don't take the name, but you have almost seen everybody. We were really impressed with that, how just this country is. I was with all these 140 brigadiers of 39 countries, and I said, and I'm still repeating that to you, this great country never won a war in the last 4 decades. Humiliated in every battle. Recently, they were thrown out of a country which fought with them with stones and sticks. They have been beaten black and blue in various other eastern countries also. Now, this is a part of narration and data driving which is important. And this era is about data colonization. They will not fight you with traditional war. They will not fight you with energy. They will fight you with data. And this data colonization will start. And this will start from the fintech. They would know every source of your spending, every reason of your spending, and they will manipulate it. They are our good friends, but there is no friend when it comes to the higher level strategies and bureaucracy. Respected friends who are sitting here, you are all capable people. You will always find disputes and disagreements with the regulator. Governance is something which is not good when it is impacting my business. It is not good when it is a hurdle to my earning. My earning should be seamless without any governance. You will always have disagreements with the regulators, but the regulators are here to help you. And what I personally feel is interaction and exchange of ideas, push and pull in the table, will help us to strengthen the regulations and the governance model which is there. The government is quite open and transparent, and you have seen that there, I think. Of course, with the deep tech coming in the financial sector, the regulations will require more deliberations, will understanding. And when the governance are coupled with intra-alia laws, where there are laws which are there and the laws which are sometimes not complementary but challenging. So in evidences case, you have to keep an evidence for 7 years probably. I'm not a lawyer, so but they say they have to keep an evidence for 7 years. But at the same time, one of the act would say you have to destroy the data within 3 years. Now, what do you follow? If you destroy the data, you are challenging the evidence. Tomorrow something happens, you have to produce the evidence, what will happen? Then, of course, you don't operate in one geography, you operate in multiple geographies of the globe. So there are laws of different countries which have to be maintained. They are maybe contrary, they may be challenging. Today, there is no provision of consent withdrawal. I'm one of the champions of consent withdrawal, where I'm trying to push that agenda, where a person has a right to withdraw his country. Now, when the consent withdrawal comes in, what happens to that evidence? What happens to the transaction? Should it be kept or not? But then we also have challans and returns, various forms where this data would be required. Now, this all, do I have an answer right now to you? Answer is no. Do I have an answer? Answer is yes. What we do is required is my understanding and hearing about from you, increasing my capability to understand this particular challenge, and then in turn, sharing it with my seniors who are there. But if you ask me, governance will require a lot of stakeholders, this thing. And of course, data residing is something which I understand. And I feel that it is always good to have your own data in your house. Ma'am, in SBI, you keep your gold in your vaults, right? You don't keep it in others' vault. You feel very secured. हमारे घर पे भी हम सोना हमारे तिजोरी में रखते हैं ना, हमारे घर पे रखते हैं, जहाँ पे भी रखते हैं. Data cannot be kept outside. Now, do we have a frame where we can deny this? Answer is no. Is it really advisable? Answer is no. Can we be in an Ethiopian country and say that we will have data only in one particular part? Answer is really not. Is it technically possible? Answer is no. But do we all have to come together and work towards that? You may be representatives of multinational companies. You may be representatives of companies whose origin come from other territories. They may be from friendly countries. They may not be from some good so friendly countries. But finally, you are all Indians. Think about this part. Discuss how can we have data in the precinct of our country under our own protection. Even if there is no law, no governance model which says you should have this. But with more than 80 million internet users, and with more than 650 million users of fintech, I think it is imperative to start thinking, can we keep this data, which can be used as weapon against us within the country? I'm left with only half a minute, but I'm reminded of a shlok which was trained to me by Lieutenant General Shekatkar when I was reporting to him. He said, Aswaneva, Gajaneva, Siyaneva, Chaneva, Ajat Putra Balidata, Devo Durbal Ghataka. I'm not good in Sanskrit, studied in a common school in Mumbai, that too in Marathi medium. So I asked him, please explain to me meaning about this. And he said, Ashwaneva, have you ever seen a horse being sacrificed on the altar of a god? No religion, no country sacrifices horse. कहीं पे भी किसी भी धर्म में किसी भी क्षेत्र में घोड़े की बलि नहीं दी जाती. Gajaneva, have you ever heard about elephants being sacrificed? No, they are so big, powerful, they will do it. Siyaneva, Chaneva, predators. लायन शेर अगर इसका बलि देने की कोशिश करें तो आपको खा जाएगा. They will attack you back. General Shekatkar told me, pay attention to the two last line. Ajat putra balidata. Ajat is bakra. बकरी की माँ कब तक खैर बजाएगी? Only बकरे का बच्चे का बलि दिया जाता है, right? He has been sacrificed on the altar of God. And General Shekatkar told me the last line is very important. दुर्बल जो है उसके अपने जो ने कहा, देवो दुर्बल घातका. Even God dislikes the weak and the meek. If you are weak, if you are meek, even you will not be sacrificed or spared by the God, you will be sacrificed. If your nation is weak and meek, you will never be sacrificed. The territory, the geography which is weak is dictated by the powerful. Data is a weapon which will be used against us if we don't wake up right now. I'm sure we are a very powerful country. We are moving towards becoming a very powerful country. And uniformed officers have one role, but people like you who are custodian of this data have a larger role than the uniformed officer who are sitting there on the borders. With this, I would like to come to end of my part of the speech. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Bharat Mata ki jai.
Very impactful indeed, sir. Thank you so much. Your take on data colonization and more so on mental colonization carries a very profound message to all of us here. And the shloka carries a very, very profound message. Thank you so much, sir. So we couldn't have asked for a better way to initiate the proceedings of the day, starting with Dr. Dutta and then with Goenka ji. Friends, I now have great pleasure in welcoming our Honorable Chief Guest, Madam Vidya Krishnan, Deputy Managing Director, IT, State Bank of India, to deliver her address. But before that, a couple of lines, and I'll be very brief, I promise you. I'll give more time for Madam to interact with you. Madam has worked in various assignments during her long and distinguished banking career. She has immense experience in digital banking while working as the General Manager of e-commerce and digital initiatives at the bank, as well as when she was the Chief General Manager of Strategy and Digital Banking at the Corporate Center in Mumbai. Madam has headed SBI Bhubaneswar Circle, and currently she is heading the SBI Global IT Center as the Deputy Managing Director IT since July 2022. Over to you, ma'am.
Distinguished dignitaries on the dais, Shri Goenka, Dr. Sourav Dutta, fellow bankers, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to all of you, and thank you for this privilege. I wish to thank Mr. Burabuchi Babu especially for giving this opportunity. Well, I think Dr. Dutta set the tone. He said from another distinguished industrialist, very known figure, who said that going forward you'll have IT companies and no banks, to hearing from Dr. Dutta that bank is a tech company with a banking license. Certainly a lot of optimism, and that really sets the tone. Also, Vinit Goenka ji spoke about one of the most important things today, that is data. We know data as we always refer to data as a new oil, but there's much more to it. It's all around identity and sovereignty. Thank you so much, sir, for making that point, which we understood along with the shloka. So with 88% coverage of the Aadhaar program, 46% real-time payments in the world happening through India, over 850 million internet subscribers, digital adoption growing even in the hinterlands, over 1 billion cellular connections, UPI having reached 12 billion in January, with SBI crossing the 3 billion mark in January. We are already in Amrit Kal, and we are already in the era of digital innovation. So how do we thrive? In fact, we are thriving. The power of the demographic dividend is fueled by the continuing government interventions and especially strengthening of the India stack, enabling secure online authentication, reducing barriers to financial inclusion, and leveraging the foundational Trimurti, that is identity, payments, and data. So the journey ahead also hinges on ongoing digital transformation and holds great promise. The promise of empowerment and inclusion, as well as a promise of creating the economic value that we all are ambitious for. No wonder the decades are now rechristened as decades. They are no longer decades. In the financial sector and banking in particular, banking being early adopters of technology, this transformation has now actually gathered unprecedented pace, and the cycles of investment and value creations are quite evident. The power of digital transformation is now being unleashed even more, but now for better customer engagement, better employee engagement, better partner engagement, and ecosystem engagement. Much of this is possible because of the open banking and the standardization frameworks, which even standardization was spoken about under the DPI, that facilitates a great deal of interconnectedness for commerce. The account aggregation and the ONDC bring huge benefits, especially to small businesses in areas of payment, lending, supply chain, thereby fostering faster financial inclusion and innovation. At the heart of this digital transformation, large banks like State Bank endeavor to create customer value. SBI has always been on the forefront of digital banking with a steady stream of technology-driven innovations. As you're aware, the multi-channel delivery models that we adopt, YONO 1.0, which actually endeavored to bring the whole bank on the palms of our customers across India, through YONO Krishi, through YONO Global, and through YONO Corporates, to all segments of customers, not just retail, to also our businesses. Today we have we have more than 70 million customers, 7 crore customers on our mobile app alone. We cater to nearly 30% of the cards that are issued in the industry. We have world-class data centers. So, as you said, data is very close to our heart. The sovereignty of data is extremely close to our heart. The privacy and the secrecy and safety of customers' data is also extremely close to our heart. Our digital channels, 24/7, through an omni-channel presence, that is both self-served as well as through our assisted modes, work 24/7. And some of the numbers, if you go by what we actually contribute to, as I said, around 30%, we have around 70,000 ATMs across the country, 70,000 correspondents, as well as our YONO. Now we've endeavored to actually get into the next level of engagement with our customers with hyper-personalization as the buzzword, where we would like to come out with YONO 2.0, which will be a lot more bespoke. So that's what we are working on. While we say all this, we have our flagship products like the pre-approved personal loan for our retail digital customers and the pre-approved business loan for small businesses that really help in further the financial inclusion agenda. So it is this ability and innovation in digital payments, online banking, quantum computing that also spoke about, AI, ML, now we have Gen AI, that are actually reshaping the whole landscape. So that's about thriving. Emerging technologies do help nurture and sustain a culture of customer centricity. They enable iterative development approaches, rapid prototyping, and faster market time to market, which is what at this point in time we are concentrating upon. Having said that, in a very open kind of an ecosystem that is being created, our collaboration with fintechs is also very important and something that we look for. We look for partnerships so that we can create customer-centric designs and ensure that, especially in YONO 2.2, to ensure that we are a lot more intuitive, accessible, and user-friendly. But while talking about our open banking initiatives, we want to be extremely conscious, cognizant of our responsibilities when it comes to data sharing and the interoperabilities that the interconnected systems offer today. And want to be also mindful of some of the risks and would encourage all our partners to collaborate with us to actually create a system that is extremely robust and highly resilient. As Sir said, data is a cornerstone of our transformation endeavors, and the development in AI, we continue because today the interaction between man and machines is of a different order. The possibilities are enormous, especially in the realm of making predictions, taking feedbacks, making predictions, etc. The AI algorithms empower us to get actionable insights and also get the kind of enhanced operational efficiencies that we always pursue. So where we deploy most of our AI ML is in fraud detection and prevention modes, because security and safety of data is extremely important. And also for our predictive risk management, because we are large lenders, our risk management processes, we keep on and on innovating and making them more and more robust. And so we are actually moving towards insight-driven lending rather than the traditional judgment approach. At the same time, we do understand that there's a lot of AI/ML that is in the heads of those people who used to man those counters traditionally. So it's our endeavor to see how we can actually bring the right mix and the balance between traditional acumen and modern tools and the kind of insights as well as the outputs that they can offer. But while speaking about data, while speaking about AI, while speaking about Gen AI, which is actually the flavor of our this season, at SBI we have adopted the responsible AI stance. We are extremely particular about the ethics that we practice, and as Sir said, the fairness, transparency, accountability, privacy are foremost in our mind when we deploy our AI models. So how can we work our models without a sense of bias? How can we serve all customers is always uppermost on my mind. The emphasis on privacy and regulation, the regulatory prescriptions, may appear to be a little stringent, which again Sir said, but I think we must understand it in the right perspective, because these are going to be the game-changing ideologies that will dominate the data landscape going forward, and we must actually embrace them, because they are all for the good of all the stakeholders. And it's only the responsible adoption of AI that will help us achieve that benchmark level of maturity, and unless we have these foundations clear, we'll not be able to build a huge edifice on top of this. We talked about data, we talked about privacy. There's another very important aspect of banking. So when we talk about innovation, several times we think about scale leadership, we think about new products, we think of frictionless. But all of this, frictionless services, frictionless products, but all this can be achieved only if our foundations are very, very strong. Very important today is cybersecurity. How do we ward off bad actors? How do we secure customers? How do we offer safe banking to our customers? So cybersecurity is paramount, and the continuing monitoring of threat intelligence and incident response capabilities are extremely important. So SBI works through three of our very, very important verticals. One is called as the SOC, which is a Security Operations Center. The second is known as a NOC, which is a Network Operations Center. And the third is called as a ROC, which is a Resiliency Operations Center. So these three are extremely important to every operation that we undertake for heightened observability of transactions that go through us, and also to ensure that we deploy the right tools, models for insights, so that we can offer robust infrastructure platforms and banking to our customers. I think Dr. Dutta also spoke about zero trust infrastructure, because it's not just important to guard ourselves against the impending threats from outside. We also have to be cognizant of the vulnerabilities that could be within our system, especially when we talk of interconnected systems, and especially when we have huge dependencies on outsourcing models. So this has also been very, very abundantly touched upon by our regulators. And we do feel that these are extremely important as we pursue to thrive in a very innovative environment. And as I said, as we endeavor to get scale leadership in a land of 1.4 billion Indians who are here, as well as several of our diaspora abroad. So in conclusion, innovation is a spark and transformation is a flame. Digital transformation has the spark. And has it rekindled this flame? Yes, it has. But however, we are on a very longish journey with intermediary milestones. The time intervals are getting shorter, but the pace is getting faster. I'm sure over the next 2 days at this conference, we'll have several thought leadership interactions, exchange of ideas, exchange of perspectives, all coming together so that we can go back and take decisions collectively, collaboratively for a robust ecosystem where all of us can participate and thrive. Apart from scalability and security, there's another thing that Goenka ji spoke about, and that is Mother Earth. Let's not lose sight of stability. I wish all of you a great 2 days here and a lot of good banking or good business that you'll be doing going back. Thank you very much.
Thanks indeed, madam. As we all know, State Bank of India has a very onerous task in the pursuit of nation building. And your speech actually highlights the vanguard position that State Bank of India is in, promoting or at the forefront of technology, innovation, and incentivizing the manpower to do better and better. So this is a great step that a giant like SBI is taking in the pursuit of nation building. So thank you very much, ma'am, for your wonderful address. Ladies and gentlemen, we now, before we bring the curtains down on the inaugural session, we have got a very important session to go now, and that is the unveiling of the thought leadership paper on Gen AI and the reshaping of the Indian consumer banking. So this will be done by our dignitaries from Capgemini. Also a quick word of gratitude for Capgemini, who have steered the conference content, who have steered the awards, jury, assessments, and done a wonderful job. They were working till late last night. And actually, people like me are seen as the bad boy here. So we worked very closely, jokes aside, and they have given a wonderful flavor to the entire event. So my pleasure to call on stage Ms. Neha Punater, Vice President and Global Leader BTS Practice of Capgemini, and Mr. Campos, Executive Vice President and Global Head of Financial Service Application Service Business and Banking, Capital Markets, Insurance and Technology at Capgemini. So this will be a brief thought leadership report release and a very brief presentation by both of them. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I must say, I think the report here almost becomes redundant based on the speeches we've heard from the three dignitaries up here. But before I speak a little bit about the report, I just want to say, I stand here as the proud son of an Indian Army officer, just come from celebrating the 200th day of raising of the first state Gurkha Rifles. And interestingly, every far-flung location we ever went to, and we went to quite a few growing up, there was always a state bank branch or extension counter over there. So thank you. And truly, these two things come together. But
Launch the report first,
well,
and then,
yeah.
okay.
All right. So let's do that.
And then you can,
Yes, in a second.
you'll have to just take a copy here,
Yeah.
and you can put your phone down, we just take a photo.
So while I have the pleasure and honor of speaking a little bit about the report, I should actually say all the hard work has been done by Neha and her team, and a lot of work has gone into it. So thank you, Neha, and thank you to the Capgemini team for pulling this together. So the report is Unleashing Potential, the Generative AI and Reshaping of the Indian Consumer Banking Sector. As most of my team, and there's some of them here today, often accuse me of being the Gen AI fanatic, I like to just say I'm the evangelist. I was going to stand here and read out this entire report to you as part of the launch, but then I said, let me do what I asked the team to always do. Go think Gen AI first. We've always thought digital first, cloud first, mobile first, but we're entering a world where we've got to think Gen AI first. So I took the report and I actually pushed it into ChatGPT and said, summarize it for me. And so I shall read to you a little bit of the summary from there. So generative AI presents a transformative opportunity for Indian consumer banking, aligning with the evolving needs of customers and technological advancements. In response to increasing demand for value and convenience, banks are leveraging Gen AI to enhance customer experiences, to enhance customer experiences, offer personalized services, and streamline operations. The integration of Gen AI enables seamless synergy between internal and external data, unlocking innovative solutions and services. In the realm of fraud detection, risk management, Gen AI empowers banks and insurers to analyze vast amounts of transactional and personal data in real time, identifying patterns, anomalies to mitigate fraud. It provides the opportunity to automate tasks and increase the operational efficiency for processes like Know Your Customer, document verification, and allows the employees to focus on the value-added tasks. However, Gen AI in banking and insurance faces challenges such as data privacy and security concerns, the lack of clear strategy, legacy infrastructure, data quality issues, and talent gaps. To address these challenges, banks must prioritize data privacy, establish clear strategies for AI integration, upgrade legacy infrastructure, ensure data quality, and invest in employee training and development. Collaborating with banks, technology companies, and regulatory bodies, and academic institutions, along with their customers and other stakeholders, is absolutely essential for driving the successful implementation and ethical implementation, I should say, of generative AI. Cross-industry partnerships and bring fresh perspectives and make Gen AI a very powerful way to drive technological change and transform the Indian banking sector. There are a few more paragraphs, but I won't read them. But I'd like to close with a couple of points, and I think ma'am alluded to it. While generative AI has the power to transform, it has not yet got the power to substitute, or be a perfect substitute, I should say, for expertise. It has the ability to amplify that expertise. And I would like us to take that into mind and keep that in mind as we start using this and start using this in a more ethical fashion. So with that, I will leave you to read the report. But like I said, they've already covered most of it in here. And once again, thank you to IBEXIndia for the opportunity to be your knowledge partner and put this report together. I hope you will get as much out of reading it as us and our teams did in actually putting it together. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Neha. Thank you for your continued assistance and great, wonderful support for the event. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the close of the inaugural session. But before that, we would like to offer a memento to our wonderful dignitaries on stage as a mark of our respect and admiration and for the time that you spent here with us. Thank you so much. May I request Nazreen to come on stage, please? And I request Dr. Dutta to hand over a small memento to Madam Krishnan. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for being here. Take back. Yeah. I also request Nazreen to hand over a small memento to Dr. Dutta to be handed over to Vinit Goenka ji. Thank you, Vinit ji, for being here, sparing your valuable time. Thank you indeed. So that was the wonderful initiation, a wonderful start to the day's program, the inaugural plenary address. And we couldn't have asked for better superlative content and thoughts on this. So this sets the tone, sets the day, sets the tone for the entire 3 days to come. So ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the inaugural session.